person who I met at that lab 2 years ago who would know another person that's right for my project. Good luck doing that on Instagram.
Hey everyone, Drew here at Moonshine Post, coming to you from the vibrant city of Atlanta. At Moonshine, we're all about storytelling, collaboration, bringing visions to life, whether it's for the creative agencies, the big studios, or passionate indies. So come tell your story with us. This episode features Jean Ellen Cowgill, the founder of Portrait Creative Network. Portrait is the industry app connecting thousands of award-winning filmmakers, department heads, and decision makers in a vetted, invite-only space. Not traditionally a filmmaker, but definitely a storyteller, Jean Ellen is changing the narrative for how industry folks connect. All right, hey, thanks for joining us here. Welcome to the Moonshine Storytellers podcast.
It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me, Drew.
Yeah, well, today we've got you, Jean Ellen Cowgill, the founder of Portrait Creative Network, the industry that's connecting and a platform that's connecting thousands of award-winning filmmakers, department heads, decision makers in a vetted, invite-only space. You've got this incredible background with both Bloomberg and Atlantic, and somehow you had the bright idea to quit your day job and start your own thing, Portrait. What on earth led you to make that entrepreneurial decision?
Sure. So I think there are two answers to that question. One is the need that I experienced and frustration that I felt. So at Bloomberg, I was building up our social and streaming video network. You can think of it as a complement to Bloomberg Television. So if Bloomberg Television is focused on, hard-hitting financial news, breaking news, I was building out a network of docuseries, documentaries, talent-driven shows. So I was working with directors, producers, talent agencies, and it really struck me that while, I straddle kind of creative and business, and on the business side, when I needed to hire a head of sales or an engineer, I'm sure we can all have some quibbles with LinkedIn, but it works. And on the creative side, I felt like I was going back to making things with pencil and glue or something like that. These individuals were either not on LinkedIn, or even if they were, relatively active, it didn't do a great job of helping me understand what they had accomplished. LinkedIn is really based around a resume system, right? I worked here, I worked here, I worked here. Yeah. It's not based around projects. And the connections aren't based around who you've worked with on what project. So the more I thought about it, the more it felt like there was a real opportunity to build a space where people across creative industries could build and maintain their professional networks and tap back into them at any time in a trusted way. So that's the first answer to your question.
You saw the need, but not a lot of people feel the calling to go and fix it.
Yeah. So then the other answer to your question is, I built and ran the creative agency and studio at the Atlantic, which was an incredibly rewarding experience over the course of 6 years. I then went to Bloomberg to build the streaming and social video network. So I had built two different businesses inside the corporate hug of larger organizations. And I was excited to take it to the next level and build something out there in the world that was totally brand new, and take the true founder journey. And that's where we are now.
Well, thanks for connecting with me on Portrait, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see you guys are fantastic covering yourself in, the Substack, but then also through, the app itself. We've been following it for a while here at Moonshine, all the filmmakers here. But I see Portrait distinguishing itself from other more traditional social medias, like Instagram and TikTok. What's the goal with the intentionality of your algorithm or your approach to your algorithm? It really seems that I really want to know what the strong suit is for this app for professionals working in the entertainment space.
Yeah. So I think you just began to hit on it there. I'd say there are certainly, I've spoken with a lot of people who, when I bring up LinkedIn, they're like, I don't use LinkedIn. I use Instagram as a space for providing my professional calling card. Uh, the problem there is that as Instagram has really pivoted to compete with TikTok as more of a short form entertainment platform, it becomes harder and harder to use it as a space to stay connected to individuals professionally because Instagram was never built for that purpose.
Right.
We've just been using it that way. But if your feed on Instagram is filled up with fun dance videos and the memes of the week, and in my case, certainly from friends, like wonderful, baby photos, it can be a little tricky to use that as a space to know what's going on with your industry friends,
Mm.
especially in a moment when you're like, who's that person who I met at that lab 2 years ago who might be the person to talk to who would know another person that's right for my project? Good luck doing that on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Good luck. So that really is what we're ultimately building toward. We want to be on the app. We want to be the friend in your pocket. We'll be building out our web platform next, and we want to be this place that you go where um, you're able to think about and mine your own network and say, okay, who should I talk to next about this? That is either someone I've loved working with in the past that, off the top of my head I may have forgotten about, or who is just two steps away from the right person that I should be talking to about this. Really helping to expand opportunity, expand who everyone is talking to, but in a way that still feels very much connected to the friends that you love working with and that you trust.
I love that aspect. We're very active actually on LinkedIn here, so we've had a lot of success in building community and also meeting folks. And I have a habit actually of randomly outreaching to people in my industry just for a virtual coffee. That was actually one of my favorite things when I found out about this app was the vetability that came along with it. But because one of the minor situations on or maybe the major situations on LinkedIn, as powerful it is from the Boolean searches on there to find people, is really anybody can title themselves as producer and commander of the universe. But you've introduced a vettable project based, system, which I found immensely useful for me to know that I can immediately connect with people I want to. But and yeah, I have admittedly have had issues connecting with people that I truly want to learn from or want to hear their insight on. So I do think the solid aspect of the vetability is fantastic for the filmmaker and the film professional. But how far does that go down the rabbit hole? I've been a part of communities in the past where that's been introduced, and we're always trying to not be gatekeepers, right? So
Right.
curious about how far that goes down, and is it working as planned?
Yeah. So we do vet everyone who joins. So there are no bots on Portrait. Your portfolio on Portrait is your own, and so you can start adding new projects, and we hope you do. And technically, that means that somebody could lie, but
Hmm.
what we find is that because it is project based and relationship based on Portrait, that isn't going to look great for you. Like someone's going to call you out on that, I think, pretty fast. And because it's a project based system, so I'm seeing the films or the shows that you've worked on. It's not, I'm going to label myself master and commander of the universe without anything to back it up. Or if I do, you might be pretty skeptical of that. This is a project based system. So it's what projects have you done over the course of the years of your career? Who else has worked on those projects? And really building out that system of trust over time.
Love it. Well, luckily I made the cut. Uh,
Yahoo!
is there a wait list? I mean, what's the wait list look like for Portrait? And is there like what's the procedure for getting on if you're on the wait list?
Yeah, so there is a wait list, and we do accept individuals in waves. And a lot of that is also to support the individual who wants to join. So, for example, we needed to start somewhere in this business. And when we first launched, we were focused on directors, producers, cinematographers, editors, uh, and that was a great place to start. And we still love all of those individuals and still have
Yeah.
many of them, of course, continue to grow there. Over time, we added department heads. So when we first launched, we didn't have costume designers on the platform, and now we do. We wanted to make sure that when we launched with costume designers, we had a large enough community of them that when they came on the platform, they felt like they were in a space that was for them, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of it has been about growing in a way that feels organic, and where as you come into the platform, you're thinking, okay, I get it. Like, I see people that I want to connect with here. The same is true. We started more heavily in film, and we've grown a lot this year in TV. So we'll continue to do that in a way that hopefully helps new members of the community feel like they've come to the right place.
Was that adapted or was that planned to bring in more of the craft workers and not more of the higher level execs?
So it's both. I mean, we've expanded in both directions. So we've both expanded to department heads, so like, costume design, production design, others. We also have started to expand more in the as execs direction as well. 20% of the community now are executives,
Cool.
C-suite, founders. So we have a strong community there too. So it's really trying to think about how we grow all these different communities in a way that fits together. Our ultimate goal certainly would be to serve, across the ecosystem.
So you launched in Tribeca, right, in 2023 last year, right? So you've got a
That's
year
right.
under your belt. Okay. What's the success story of the first year? And what are the successes you're aiming for the next couple of years?
We really spent this first year, and I should say, before we launched the app, we did do a 6-month closed beta with a set group of filmmakers before that. So for those out there who may be like, wait a second, I feel like I joined this thing before
Tested and
June of
approved by
2023.
filmmakers.
Yeah, that was a really fun time. And that's been part of our ethos from the beginning, is to really always be asking for feedback and ideas and take those as a way to shape our direction forward, because at the end of the day, this is for you and for your peers. It's not for us. If I like it and no one else likes it, then I have certainly failed. So the past year has really been about building the core community, and we've seen really fast growth over that first 12 months, and also about building out some of those core networking and keeping in touch tools that it sounds like you've been playing around with. So that includes being able to see who's headed to what festival or conference, who has what project, at a festival or coming out on a given streaming platform, who was behind the project that just came out that everyone's talking about, and can you connect with them easily. So really trying to build those pieces and connect the dots in ways that we don't see a lot of other platforms in the space doing. So that was year one. Now we're working on building our web platform. So we intentionally launched app only to start, because
Yeah.
we wanted to be, again, that kind of friend in your pocket that you could pull out, like, as you were on your way throughout the industry, through your year. We're working on advanced tools for discovery and search. And now that the community is large enough and growing, we want to make it ever easier for you to be able to say, again, my North Star is like that moment when you have a new project coming up. And Drew, I'm sure you've experienced this, where you're like, okay, who do I need to call right now and talk to? All right. And later you'll be like, you know who I should have talked
I
to?
hate that feeling. Yeah.
So we want to make that easier for you. And we're building out a lot of tools to make that easier.
Yeah, so I mean that sounds wonderful for recruitment. Just having access to talent and kindred spirits that you want to collaborate with, right? So I mean that's quite literally all Post is collaboration. And we're the Alamo for storytelling. So you better pick and choose wisely who you want to spend the rest of the story with, right? So we're always trying to figure out like, yeah, how can we ramp up quickly, but also how can we work with people that have that are either cross-trained or have like these special abilities in some of the storytelling aspects that we're looking for, because we see quite a variety of shows here. So I'm excited for that part of the app. So you didn't actually come from a traditional filmmaker background, but you led into it backdoor style, right? Why did you decide to pick up the filmmaker banner?
Yeah. I mean, so ultimately, to me, what Portrait becomes is this creative ecosystem where individuals across the board, like people like me who are, kind of straddling again creative and business, as well as, people who are making exceptional work, are able to stay in touch and find each other over time. I think because I came at it from more of that business side, I saw where a lot of the platforms that had been launched in the past weren't serving me well. So, for example, there are a whole host of gig platforms and talent marketplaces that have launched over the years. Many people, when they first hear about Portrait, might be like, wait, is this like another one of those talent markets? I've seen this, 50 times before. But again, when I was at the Atlantic and Bloomberg, I did not find any of those platforms to be solving my problem because they aren't based in relationships. They aren't based in a network. They are pure play, mass transactional marketplaces. And so as a result, they tend to not be places where people want to build their careers or be there over the long term, right? Like you don't keep your profile and your work active if it's a space that's sort of a method of last resort. So it felt really important to me to build something that first and foremost was a place where you wanted to be, where you want to see what people are up to, where it feels really vibrant and community based. And then the ability to use it for growing your career, for finding the right person for your project, for figuring out who you should talk to about this next thing you're doing, that all stems out of there. So it's really flipping um, the path forward on its head.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I came into the entertainment and film and TV space to start because it's such a collaborative exercise, right? It's such a team sport.
Oh yeah.
And, our members are playing in so many interesting spaces. They're doing documentaries, they're doing Super Bowl commercials, right? They're doing VFX for like really cool shows. They're getting into gaming. Like it's all the old silos are falling apart, and this feels like the nexus point to start from and then just continue to grow and serve.
Well, I mean, that goes along with you seeing it from Bloomberg, I mean, going from traditional, media and publication into the world of the internet, kicking and screaming, right? And so, yeah, I mean, the entertainment's going through, a similar scenario now, and there's there is a lot of connection to be made. It doesn't seem to be like, it's not a traditional, social media platform as we discussed. You're really doing a lot of community curation. There's also even professional development opportunities. I mean, it's really a pretty heavy hybrid that requires a lot of active work on the members side, not a lot of passive work. But is there a Portrait mission statement on the stance of being active community building versus more passive approaches?
I think what we hope to be is the infrastructure that connects the dots across things that are already happening organically. We want to just provide jet fuel to a lot of the things that people are already doing. So, like, let's take Moonshine Post, right? I'm sure you've built up a lot of trusted relationships over the course of building this business,
Okay.
and you're getting in referrals, you're reaching out, but you're also always looking to expand that network, right? You want to make sure that it continues to grow, that it's healthy, that you're increasing the diversity of your projects and the individuals that you're working with. So that's all great. And we want to act as a platform that helps you do that more successfully over time. So what does that mean for you as a Portrait member? It means bringing that same spirit of collaboration and trust building to what you're doing on platform. I think something that's been really important over the past year for us is having in-person moments where our members are able to meet and talk to each other. It's weird for me to say maybe as someone building an online platform, but nothing replaces the ability to meet face to face. But we hope that then now that you've met face to face, you don't lose that connection because you have Portrait to keep you connected and help you stay in touch over the long term.
Yeah, I really liked at the rollout in Atlanta, there's a group chat feature, right, for the entire Atlanta Film Festival. And it rode certain waves of, well, self-promotion to, yo, this is awesome, come meet me at this block. And then you would
Yeah.
come, you'd meet a bunch of like-minded filmmakers, which is a really funny function. But like I met people that way, people that I'm going to be collaborating with later in this year. And just it was a really nice, um it was a really nice numbers game, I guess. I can't meet everyone at the bar, right? So like I was able to build and meet people that I wanted to, and then see old friends as well. So yeah, we could see the value at Moonshine already, and we were already taken by the app. So Moonshine already does a fair amount of activations, festival presences, speaking events throughout the year. I'd love to hear what the user's experience is, or that you're trying to create for the community events side of it, because there's a lot of obvious use at the festival, right?
Mhm.
Versus the daily life use of the app.
Maybe you came into Portrait because you were headed to a festival. Maybe you had a project in that festival. Maybe your team member reached out and said, "Hey, like I'm on this thing Portrait that's highlighting our project, and you can see everyone who's attending the festival." So you join. And you start by using maybe you come to one of Portrait's events alongside a festival. Maybe you use those tools that you were just referencing to see who else is going to be on the ground, see who has what project, be able to connect with them in advance and set up some meetings. And then, after you leave the festival, you're able to review and say, "Ooh, whose contact information did I not save, right? Who should I try to stay in touch with for the future?" So maybe that's your first experience with Portrait. And then, coming out of that, you realize, you know what? And this is a good example. We had a CEO say to us recently, like that he had been trying to get in touch and figure out the right way to have a conversation with this specific team from Sundance. Couldn't figure out the right way in, and then there they are on the app. It's a trusted space. He was able to reach out and they started chatting, and now he's using Portrait in the day-to-day running of his business
Huh.
because he's using it as a way to say, well, maybe that's my first point to get in contact with someone that I'm trying to find. So that's one example of the day to day. We also highlight not only job opportunities and upcoming gig opportunities, but grant and program deadlines as well as festival deadlines. And
Yeah.
we have been told by many that those deadlines have saved them. I think this is a direct quote, more times than they care to admit.
Yeah.
So that has also been a very popular feature in the app
Yeah.
on a
Creatives
regular.
are known for their punctuality and hitting their deadlines.
Yeah.
We're converging, traditional media with creator culture, right? Do you see any formalized response to that, or audience building features coming to the platform? What's the response? Because I'm in both film, TV, and then the creator and the advertising space. So
Yeah. We don't think of ourselves as solely built for the film and TV world. We think of ourselves as starting from the entertainment space as a lens in, but all of our members are already like you. Like they're already working across all these spaces, and we want to support them across everything that they're doing. So that both means reflecting their work across the board. So, for example, I spoke with a cinematographer yesterday who was saying one of the problems for them with IMDb is, it only represents 10% of his work
mm,
because so much of that he's doing is, on YouTube or, commercial work, advertising. He wants a portfolio that represents all of that. And sure, he has a Squarespace account, but it's connected to no one and nothing. Whereas Portrait, he can represent all of his work to a vibrant community.
yeah, I really love the focus on the craft, the skills, the opportunities, and not so much so far, because of giving people just massive platforms and giving companies platforms. That's why I like the app. Now, going back to some of the events, which is stuff that we have most of our experiences with on there. I noticed that you're also you're curating a lot of your own programming and events throughout the year at a lot of the major festivals, TIFF, Sundance, Tribeca. Is there a theme to that now after year one that you're going to move more into? Would love to hear what you guys think was successful, or things that you want to build towards.
I mean, some of it is just having spaces where our members are able to connect with one another because everyone who comes into a Portrait event is a Portrait member, and every Portrait member is a vetted member of the creative community. it results in a really good guest list, And
Love
so
that.
we've gotten a lot of great feedback from members about who they were able to meet on the ground at our events, then that leading to projects, that leading to conversations that, hopefully enhance and expand their careers. One of the things that's just launched in the app are portrait groups. So that's where both organizations can have a group that they support, or so, for example, for their alumni or for their cohorts or their labs, it gives them a space to have private conversations. And we've also launched that for different roles as well. So, for example, like portrait producers or portrait cinematographers can have conversations just with one another.
Well, I got a few more for you. I got one big hairy one, which I like to do.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah, with this active curation and allowing this vettable craft workers and storytellers and filmmakers, how do you see Portrait being an advocate of developing indie filmmakers and storytellers and the increasingly decentralized nature of filmmaking versus the studio system that is creating industry titans and veterans?
I mean, that's really been part of our spirit from the beginning, right? We have so many indie filmmakers on the platform because of the nature of how we've grown and built, and being alongside the festival circuit, and also just the very nature of being able to connect with one another directly, right? And say, like, what can we make together? What can we build? I have spoken throughout the initial building of Portrait with some who say, like, oh, the gatekeepers are not gonna like what you're doing. There was one organization in particular, I won't say who, where they said, what you're building is literally our worst nightmare.
Yeah, I mean,
But
you're leveling the playing field with access with people that have fantastic craft work and skill sets, right? But also providing a conduit to traditional craft workers. The ecosystem needs both, right? I mean, that's where new talent comes from, that's where fresh ideas come from. Obviously, it's been like that for years. But I still see both of those as vital to your app, and I'm wondering how you balance that.
yeah, I mean, so to the individual who said I was their worst nightmare, and was said with a smile and a friendly way and a laugh,
Okay.
I'll say it's relatively short-sighted because ultimately the industry is undergoing massive change,
Oh yeah,
right? Like you
understand.
are people are now watching, more on YouTube. YouTube has crossed the threshold of more viewership than Netflix. We've hit that Rubicon. So the old ways of thinking about entertainment and creative work in very specific tranches has already broken apart so much. And you mentioned I am not a filmmaker, and I didn't come to this as a filmmaker, but I do come to this very much anchored in creative work. And when I was in the chief of staff role, one of the business plans that I wrote was for Atlantic Video, which started with curation of short form video and build up all the way to a feature length film. And so there's a whole generation of talent that has played across these spaces who didn't come up through the studio system, but now are playing in the studio system and are dabbling across. So I think we must straddle all of these spaces because they are increasingly becoming one big pool.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the age of collabs, right? And so, if you can put more and more, solid artists together, I'm really excited to see how that gets intertwined with traditional filmmaking. Are there any new exclusive functionalities or features rolling out that we really need to be excited about?
Ooh, so fun. We've just this summer launched the groups functionality, and that, like everything else we do, came out of requests from organizations where they came to us and said, listen, we could launch a Google group, we could launch a Facebook group, but a lot of our members don't want to be on Facebook anymore. We really like that on your platform, we're in an industry context and everybody has a portfolio where they can see their full, background and full set of work. Do you have the functionality to have a space where our members, alumni, affiliated thinkers and creators are able to stay in touch? And we said, we can, we can build it. And so we launched that first with some organizations that have been wonderful partners to us. And then just this week, we launched the groups functionality for roles within Portrait. We started with 5 groups there, and we're going to be launching a bunch more. So look out for those. So right now, portrait directors, portrait cinematographers, portrait editors, portrait writers, and portrait producers, I'm sure I'm forgetting one, are live. And we've seen a ton of activity in there this week as individuals are connecting, specifically to each other. Actually, in one of them, I can't remember which group it was. I think in the writers group, there was a, hey, who are the Atlanta writers here? And there's a nice thread going. But hey, if you are not one of those roles, don't worry. We're going to be launching your group here soon, and we're going to keep rolling that out.
Well, definitely know one supporting industry that might have a few thoughts or ideas on some groups. So we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to get active on there. The sheer ability to connect with people who are already like-minded or already interested in a lot of the skill sets or a lot of the film types that we're up to as a company, or the filmmakers internal to the organization, it's just it's a no-brainer for us. I mean, like, half the reason we get super stoked about the Atlanta Film Festival is that we all can get there and hang out with fresh, new idea filmmakers every year. And it's really inclusive, of the directors and the creatives. So we just see this as another tool to aid in that ability to connect. So we're stoked to get active. So I really appreciate your time today. Where can we find Portrait next? Is it sticking with the festival route? Do you have any larger national events up and coming?
So we've got a couple events already on the books upcoming. So you can look out for us. Let's see. We have an event during TIFF in Toronto. So for those who are heading to Toronto, please join us. And we are official partners with the New Orleans Film Festival. We'll be on the ground there as well. Those are just a couple of things upcoming. The fall will continue to be quite a busy time. You can find us at www.onportrait.com, onportrait.com, or just search Portrait Creative Network, and we should be one of your first results. You can request an invite, and we'd love to see you as part of the community.
That's awesome. Perfect send-off. Again, thank you. And we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Drew, thank you so much. This was really fun.
It's great. I appreciate it. Thank you, Janelle. Bye. That's a wrap. A big thanks to Jean Ellen Cowgill from Portrait Creative Network for sharing her insights. She's a powerhouse in the industry, and her app is set to revolutionize how creatives connect and collaborate. Want to join the Portrait community? Then head on over to www.onportrait.com to request an invite. And until next time, stay sharp, stay connected. Moonshine out.